Hey everyone, Hassan here. You are listening to the NintendoFuse podcast. Today is Tuesday, September 5th, 2017, and this is episode number 140 titled Nindies Showcase because I couldn't come up with any better name other than Nindies Showcase, and that's a topic we're going to talk about. So, today I'm joined by Steve.
Hey everybody. I like the title. It works for me. So.
All right, awesome. We got Greg here.
Hi everyone. Goodbye me as well.
And Barry.
Hey guys, it's short and to the sweet, or short and to the point. There we go. See, short and sweet.
I figured
to the sweet.
Well, you like that, right?
About that? Yeah.
I conned a new phrase right there.
There we go. There we go. It's like, hey, after 140 episodes, we're allowed just normal, straightforward names. So, for those that don't know, this is the NintendoFuse podcast, and we do this podcast live. It's very interactive, unlike your usual podcast. So in this case, we actually are live with our audio on TalkShoe, and we have a TalkShoe chat going. But then we're also streaming via Google Hangouts on YouTube, youtube.com/NintendoFuse. And you can basically post your comments in the chat, and we will then read your comments on the podcast as well. So we have a bunch of things to talk about, including apparently some late-breaking news I'm hearing that I didn't even know about. So we'll talk about it. So very interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. I do want to give a shout out to Jakester, who's in the YouTube chat as well. All right. So let's get started.
Guest 5. Don't forget guest 5.
Oh, don't
yeah,
what?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Guest 5.
Yeah,
Don't
guest 5. Guest 5. Shout out to you. You're better than guests 1, 2, 3, and 4. So shout out to you. So, what have you all been playing recently on Nintendo Switch and maybe the 3DS or Wii U if there's, if you've dusted off the dust?
Dusted off the dust. I actually did dust off the dust off of my Wii U the other day, as I was moving things around our new apartment, and I was like, you know what? I actually need to move that, and because it was just sitting there by my TV, and I haven't even touched it recently. So I did. I moved it and dusted it off, and now it's in a box, and that's probably where it's going to stay until I really want to play like Smash Brothers or something like that. And so I've been playing a lot of Splatoon recently, trying to get caught up with the rest of you guys that are like already on level 40 or whatever. So I think I'm at 12 so far. But I finally got to try Salmon Run. We talked about in our game chat and everything about Splatoon 2. And at the time, I hadn't played Salmon Run, but I played it a few times since then. It's really fun. I'm really enjoying that. And as long as I get partnered up with good players, that's the hard thing. Like sometimes I'm just like, what are you doing? But that's the overall feeling about Splatoon 2. Sometimes you just get bad luck when you get partnered up with people and you go, what's the problem here? Do you know what you're doing? And then sometimes you get on a great team and it's great. And sometimes I'm sure other people are talking that way about me and wondering, what is this Steve guy doing on my team? He sucks really bad. But that's what I've been playing a lot of, Splatoon 2, and also Sonic Mania, playing on a lot of that. So yeah, Mike and I just posted a game chat on that last week as well. So you can find out further thoughts there. But it's a really fun Sonic game, which is something I think I haven't said in a long time. That we have a new really fun Sonic game to play, and I'm enjoying it. And I'm really enjoying it because it's classic 2D, and I can take it on the go on Nintendo Switch. So it's been really cool. So that's pretty much Splatoon 2 and Sonic Mania is where I've been spending most of my time lately.
Okay, nice. Both great games. What about you, Greg?
I am still stuck in Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I continue my replay on Master Mode. I'm up to 100 shrines even. All 4 divine beasts are defeated. just got a little bit more left to do, like defeat Ganon in the last 20 or so shrines. That's the main thing that I've been playing at home, but I also wanted to share with everybody that I actually tried out for the Nintendo World Championships last weekend. That was a very exciting time. Got to play a little small indie title, perhaps you've heard of it, Super Mario Odyssey. Wonderful game, actually. I was quite surprised. The controls are very familiar. If you played like Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, even Mario Galaxy, you can still long jump and all of that kind of fun stuff. I really enjoyed the little cool hat thing and possessing different things. I captured a human, surprisingly, in New Donk City was the demo level that I got to play. And then you had to control this little RC car. That part wasn't very fun, but just for a little moon tile, it was one of the 10 hidden in the world that you could collect. I don't know if there's 10 total in the final version or if it was just 10 available in the demo. That's the guy I was standing with only told me there was 10. There's also 100 purple coins to collect. Got whatever quarter of those or so. Those are a lot of fun to find all over the place. Moving on, I also checked out the demo for Metroid Samus Returns. As you see, I have these wonderful posters with every single for all 3 games that I played. Here's the one for Mario Kart 7 that has the little World Championship logo on it. But Metroid Samus Returns, I had a lot of fun with that. I put down the first boss and defeated a Metroid. That was very fun to get used to. They really introduced you to like using the melee attack that they've talked about, and it's completely open to explore for the most part. And obviously, you need power-ups to access different areas. But overall, I felt it was a very fun game to play, and I'm looking forward to playing our review copy soon once Steve can ship it out here.
Oh, Nintendo, shipping things to me at my old address, so then I have to get it shipped to me, my new address, then ship it to Greg, Mike. It's ridiculous. So you might eventually get it. We'll see. Have you played? Did you play the original Metroid 2 at all?
I did, but it's been a very, very long time. I had on the Game Boy Pocket. I played it on. I did download it on the 3DS, but I probably haven't even spent more than a couple hours on it.
Okay. I was going to ask you if it felt comparable at all, but if you don't really remember, never mind.
I think it's hard to tell because he's like so big. Like Samus was so big in the Game Boy version, but I don't know. I mean, it seemed like it flowed nicely, and I'd have to fire that up. That'd be an interesting comparison point, at least for the review purpose.
Right. Well, that's cool. So the World Championships, how what was that experience like? Actually trying to compete and everything.
That was very interesting. I got there about 9 o'clock local Central Time. The line was maybe only like 10 or 12 people in front of me. Surprisingly, this was on Sunday, day 2. I heard stories about how it was much larger the day before. I think there was a little bit of forecast for the rain that day, but it actually held out until like well into the afternoon. Basically, they allowed you to register. They gave you a time card. They said you only get 2 plays, as they said. What they didn't tell you is that even after you get your 2 times, you can go re-register again, wait in the line outside, and like play again if you really wanted to. I didn't really have the time for that, so I didn't try. And also, from talking with people, the people that had the best time in at least Chicago area were using the wall jump technique, where you jump over the wall and after like first few turns, and you go right into the lava, and then Lakitu decides to move you on to a different part of the course. So you skip like part of the course. Kind of surprised that would be accepted, but
yeah,
they watch you play was more just like you had to set down the system when you finished your race. They were saying you couldn't use the restart feature either. So it's like if you made a mistake, you had to complete the run and set down the system. If you didn't oblige by that, then your first run was immediately canceled. Like they didn't count that as a time. So
It's so interesting. I remember the other day, my experience with the Wii games 2010, and they watched us really, really close. And they, like, if we try to do any even shortcuts, they didn't. They were like, "Hey, you can't do that at all." And so, like, it was surprising they allowed like a glitch this time, and they weren't even watching. Because to me, it seems like, I mean, like the Wii games championship was really fun and everything, but I feel like the Nintendo World Championships should have a little more prestige to it, and like the like the fact that they're just like not as strict on the rules, it seems like is kind of surprising to me, because they were pretty strict when it came to the competition that I was in. But I don't know, it's weird.
But I was like talking with the other people standing in line, and they were kind of surprised that they even picked that course. Because I mean, surely they have to be aware this has been around for a while, considering the world record on the course. So
Yeah.
there's obviously replays and ghost data of all of like people doing it. I don't know why it was never patched, but I don't know. That seems kind of frustrating. So it's like if you didn't know that couldn't do the trick, then you're basically out. It just weeded through like, oh, if you know the trick, okay, you can have a shot, and let's see if you can do it in 2 attempts. Get like a very solid run. So I don't know. It was that part. That's kind of why I also didn't want to go back in line, because it was just like, well, I can't even execute it. I didn't practice it. Therefore, why should I even waste my time?
Right. What other games did you have to play?
It was just Mario Odyssey and Metroid Samus Returns. That was all they had.
Gotcha. Well, that's cool. It'll be interesting.
Stock of Amiibo and everything too. I got 100 platinum coins for checking in on my Nintendo.
Nice. That's cool. I'm excited to see at least, how it all comes together on October 7th, I think it is the actual World Championship. So it should be at least fun to watch, even if the way they did all the qualifying stuff was kind of weird. At least the main tournament should be interesting. Definitely.
I know for the younger kids, they had a course that was basically straightforward. I don't know why they didn't just have it all on the same course, unless they needed a way to distinguish it to the people reporting times. I don't know, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Interesting. Have you been playing any other stuff besides what you mentioned there with those games? Or?
Well, I already talked about Breath of the Wild again, but I haven't really fired up anything else. I've been wanting to do Splatoon 2, but I feel like that's just going to fall off until Fire Emblem Warriors, and then I don't know when I'll be playing it. But
gotcha. Okay.
maybe Mario Odyssey is next month too.
Oh gosh, that is next month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Time is flying by. Oh man. What about you, Barry? What have you been playing?
Well, I didn't get to do the Nintendo World Championship. It was a little far for me. But I did get to go to Play NYC, where I was supposed to meet up with Steve, but a little move said no.
I know.
But I did get to play quite a bit of things there. That was a blast, and can't wait for next year already. Outside of that, I haven't played as much as I'd like to. There were some real world events that kind of rocked my world yet again that have took some time. But when I did have time, I was going to do Splatoon 2. I haven't touched it yet. I know I'm the only one. Well, except for Greg. Greg and I are in the same boat. But instead, I'm like, well, I finally have time now. But there's a game that comes out in like 2 days that I'd rather put my time to, and that's Mario and Rabbids, which I have been playing, and I'm right at the end of the game, actually. I thought I would like the game. I didn't know I would love the game, and I went out and bought the season pass. Like, it is a lot of fun. The combat is great. It's fluid. Like, people was like, oh, there's not much exploration, and there isn't in terms of Mario, but there is exploration in the world. There's incentives to go back through the world. There's extra challenges afterwards. There's 2-player modes. You can go back and replay like missions to try to perfect your time. It's just a lot of fun. and there's a lot of combo. And I've only used like 4 characters. I haven't even used all 8 yet. So like I have no idea what Yoshi is like because you get Yoshi so late in the game, and I was like, haven't even like I'm sticking with what works till I beat the game, and then I'm going to experiment. But yeah, it is a lot of fun. It's the first Mario game I think ever that has curses in it, which really threw me for a loop. Like it's the humor is great. Like it's so well done. There's so much charm. Although if you do close your eyes, sometimes you swear you're playing a banjo game because the music, same guy, awesome music, but it's so weird. Like this sounds like Banjo-Kazooie, you know. But yeah, that's taken up the majority of my time. I did go back and finish Blaster Master Zero, something that I never did, and I actually went back to Super Bomberman R, and played more of the story there because they patched it, and now I can turn the camera so it's straight. Which was one of my biggest gripes in our second game chat we did. But yeah, I'm ready to fire up the 3DS again with Metroid. I can't wait to play that. The only other thing I did on the 3DS was Pokemon Shuffle, which I'm at the breaking point. I'm at the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm done. I did this for like 2 years straight every day. I'm done.
And then tomorrow they announce Pokemon Shuffle for Switch.
Well, I've already given up on other ones. It's just like I wouldn't do it again. Like it's a great game. I loved it. It's just the problem is it's a free to play game, so you constantly have to farm money, and you have to constantly like I stopped doing the single player. I've just been doing the special stuff, and it's just like I don't have the time anymore. Like I used to spend all my hearts. Then it stopped working with tagging. Like I used to recognize my wife's 3DS and give me like bonus stuff every 10 tags. Now it stopped doing that. It shows that I tagged somebody, but it doesn't give me anything. So it's like whatever. They broke it or something. Well, I don't even care anymore. Like 2 years of my life in that game, I've done enough. I've gotten my free money's worth.
Gotcha. Cool. I do want to give a shout out to Mike in the chat as well. And if you guys in the chat are playing any games, definitely post them in the comments, and we'll read them live. So for me, I've been playing some of Splatoon 2, a bit more. I can't remember if this was after the last podcast or before it or not, but I know I had played a little bit with you, Steve, and some of the other NintendoFuse folks, and we did some voice chat and everything with the app, and it was it's interesting, I guess.
Did you use the headset?
No, I used the headset the first day I got it, and then I put it away ever since. I've never used it since then.
A reason for me never to open mine.
Probably. It'll look better that way, you know, as a collector's item or something in a box, probably.
Yeah, it'll look a lot better on your shelf. Yeah.
Yeah. But Salmon Run is a lot of fun as well. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. I did play some Sonic Mania, did get that, although I got stuck pretty early on. So I got to figure it out. I suck at those games, but they're fun. So, you know, it's pretty neat. And I just love that, like, there's few games that, like, my grandmother can even enjoy. And Sonic gets difficult, but just at least, like, the first level, you're just kind of jumping and moving. So, like, I gave her the Switch and had her, you know, I was like, all right, jump here. And she's, like, playing it. She beat the first level, including the boss and everything on her first try. And I was like, yes, this is great. So it was just a fun little moment with that.
Should be a tagline. Sonic Mania. Even grandmas enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, she played Sonic the Hedgehog on the Virtual Console on Wii. Like, she played, like, the first level or two. So when I showed it to her again, she's like, oh, yeah, you know, this game. Like, you know, kind of, like, you know, reminded her of that and stuff. So that was cool. But the main game that I've been playing a lot of recently, I'm going to echo what Barry is saying, Mario and Rabbids.
All right.
That game is awesome.
It is.
I am really liking it.
How far are you in that?
I am in the second world.
Okay.
Third chapter in the second world, maybe something like that.
Right. There's only 4.
So I've still got a decent bit to go, but yeah, I mean, it's one of those games, like the first world, like as you're kind of getting into it, they teach you each of the pieces of it, and at first you're kind of like, okay, yeah, it's a little basic, and you know, you kind of figure it out. By the time you get to the end of the world, all the different layers of stuff that you can do, like, really start to present itself, and it becomes really interesting because it's not just I mean, I don't play too many strategy games, so I'm not sure how to compare it necessarily. But what's interesting about it is you don't just move, attack, this, like in set things. You can pick, do I want to attack and then move and then use my special? Or maybe I'll use my special, then have this character move, then jump back to this character and have them attack, and then have this one. Like, you can really pick and choose what order to do what for each character. And that brings about a whole slew of different combinations of things. And it gets really interesting trying to do combos of stuff, and it's pretty fun. It's pretty neat, definitely. And I love the animation, the story, the music. I mean, it's charming. I definitely recommend it. Definitely.
It's interesting because some of those stages, like, you want to separate your characters, and other times that's like death. You want to keep them together. So like, it's discovering. I would say my only gripe with the game, which you haven't experienced yet, if you fail, like if you die, you can just restart and retry, which is great. And if you're in the middle of one and you just have a bad luck, you can just retry again. However, in the last world, there are several battles that take place back to back to back with no breaks. So if you fail on like the third of those, or you want to retry, you have to do them all again. And it's just like, that's a little obsessive. Like, give me at least a little checkpoint or something. Just because you have a bad turn, like, you screw yourself out. So, like, for those cases, that's when I turned on easy mode, just because I didn't want the frustration. Like, all right, I'll take the extra health just to make sure I get through it.
Right. Yeah, it gets pretty intense, definitely. So I'm excited to continue playing more of it.
Did you when you beat the first world, did you go back through with your new ability at all?
Not yet. I want to at some point, but then I feel like so many worlds have so many different abilities, so I might kind of towards the end, as I have all of the stuff, then go back through them all. And I know there's so much more still to do when you go back into those worlds, but
see, I like that. Like, for people who think it's just a straight strategy game, after you beat every other 4 worlds, you get a special ability that you can use outside, like pushing blocks or breaking blocks, and then you have to revisit the whole world, just going through all the stages, just trying to find, like, oh, before I saw this block that I couldn't move to get this item, now I can. So it encourages going back and just trying out and exploring, and it's really cool. And each world also has a special stage. I don't know if you saw that, Hassan. Each world has a hidden special stage that you need the ability to go back and get. So, like, you have to go back if you want to complete it all. There's a lot to it. It's really well done. You know, Ubisoft did an amazing job, and I couldn't recommend the game more.
Yeah, they really did. It's really well done. In the chat, Jakester says Splatoon 2 has been the only game I've played since I got the Switch a couple months ago. I can understand that for sure. So the next thing that I want to briefly discuss, I guess, is just the late-breaking news, which is that there's a new firmware update available for the Nintendo Switch. It brings your system to version 3.0.2. If you are anywhere except for South America, the update really doesn't do anything for you. But if you're in South America, they've finally brought online play to Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, and Peru. So if you're in those countries, you can finally play online in those systems for free until the paid service launches in 2018, of course. For everybody else, just your general, system stability as we're all used to. So yay, it's even more stable. So there we go. But since we're talking about different games, I wanted to bring back a little discussion on some of the games that Nintendo released recently, Splatoon 2 and ARMS, that, are the types of games that really have that, or at least supposed to have that longevity, constantly releasing new updates, new weapons and maps and different things, right, to keep the game going. So with Splatoon 2, they recently have, they've been releasing new weapons. They just recently released the Forge Splattershot Pro with the new Bubble Blower special. There's a new Splatfest as well this past weekend, which was Flight versus Invisibility, and Flight won. And there's new maps in Splatoon 2. These new maps, the Manta Maria is new for Turf War and ranked battles, and there's a Lost Outpost stage for Salmon Run as well. And with ARMS 2, they have not released it yet, but there's a new character coming named Lola Pop, and she's like a clown that's like candy themed, sort of. I think like it's odd, but
Yeah, she looks weird.
As are many of the ARMS characters. So Splatoon 2, ARMS, either of them, are these games that like, do you find these updates keep you coming back to these games? Are they, well, I guess with Splatoon, we already know with Greg and Barry haven't really gotten into them yet, but do you think like this strategy is working for Nintendo?
I think it is, and it's one of the things that I get excited about Splatoon 2, because I was excited about with Splatoon as well. I never got ARMS, so I think it would be the same way if I did get it. I'd be excited about coming back and getting it, especially because all this stuff is free, and that's really cool because it just gives the game longevity. The thing that I love about Splatoon 2 and why I really enjoy them doing this is because the game is kind of limited in the beginning, especially online. Like I feel like I'm going back to the places over and over and over and over again. Every time I play, a Splatfest or just a regular Turf War or anything like that, I'm playing the exact same levels over and over again. And so the more levels they bring in, the more maps they bring in, the better. Just variety and at the same time, I enjoy the different weapons. Like I tend to find the weapons that I really enjoy and get good at, and then I just kind of keep using them over and over and over again. I don't usually venture out too much, but it's nice to like have that variety for people that do want to try different things out. And also it's great for when you're playing against other people that you're not seeing the same weapons over and over again. Like you actually start to see other people, because I think in the beginning it was like everybody had the same 5 weapons, but now I'm starting to see a lot more variety, and the game changes as well with that, because people are using different types of weapons and then they're playing different ways because of that. And so the game just evolves over time, not only is in different locations, but the different weapons and different modes and stuff like that, they bring in a different type of play with it. So I think that's also what gives the game longevity, because they introduce like one thing, but that can really have a wide range of influence over the whole game.
Yeah, true. What about you guys? Greg, Barry, with, I guess not with Splatoon, but maybe with ARMS, or?
I didn't get ARMS at all. That was not something I was too interested in, but I don't know. With the original Splatoon, I kind of lost interest somewhat quickly. I don't think it helped that like other games like Mario Maker and other things really stole my attention, like hardcore and everything. So I do like that they are constantly updating it. Obviously, I would see the value that there's reasons to continue playing. It's just for this, it's been a matter of time for me. I didn't think I'd get sucked into Master Quest. I'd anticipated. I've been playing Splatoon for close to 2 months now, but I just really like Legend of Zelda. So unfortunately, that's been taking my time.
There's nothing wrong with that. For me, I mean, I have both the games. I haven't played ARMS recently. I might go back and play with Lola Pop, or I might wait for another character or two and then go back and like see it all together. Is it a smart strategy? The answer is yes, obviously. What's interesting, however, as opposed to last generation with the Wii U, we were all clamoring last generation when a new DLC came out. Like, oh my God, Mario Kart DLC. We can't wait for that. Or, oh, a new Smash character. Because that's all there was. Like, there was droughts, and like that was what was getting us through. Was, oh, new DLC is out. Ooh, new Hyrule Warriors pack is out. Ooh, new Pikmin 3 challenge map. Whatever. That's kind of what carried us. Now it's kind of the opposite. Now there's a ton of releases coming out, and on top of that, you have Zelda DLC. You have Mario and Rabbids now DLC. You've got ARMS DLC. You've got Splatoon 2 DLC. And all this is complementing it. So it's suddenly giving us a problem that we haven't actually had in a while on a Nintendo platform, at least a Nintendo home console, is what do I play? Well, Greg and I haven't touched Splatoon 2, but Steve and Greg haven't touched Mario and Rabbids, and I think maybe Hassan and I are the only ones with ARMS as well. So it's like we all get to branch and do our own thing, and we all have something to play, and that's something that Nintendo hasn't delivered in a long time. So it's not only is it a smart strategy that helped them semi-survive the Wii U, but it's now strengthening the Switch and furthering that soft launch focus for this holiday when Mario launches in the holiday season. And now, hey, I want to pick up Splatoon 2, all this content. Hey, I want to pick up ARMS, all this content, and especially those two games because it's free. You get it all right away.
It is interesting that, I mean, we've talked about that soft launch idea with the Switch, and it seems like Nintendo's taken that kind of approach in a lot of their games recently as well, with ARMS and with Splatoon and now Splatoon 2, that they kind of like launched the game with the bare basics and what they can get out, and then they say, you know what, we'll eventually get the full release of this game out within a year on what it really can be. But we're going to launch it at the very basics, and very similar to what they did with the Switch system as well. So I don't know if that's a good move overall. I think it's an interesting move nonetheless. But I mean, I'd like to just know what I'm getting when I buy a system or when I buy the game initially. It's cool to have the whole thing right at the very beginning. But at the same time, I'm like, they're offering it for free, so it's not really like I'm missing out. I'm just getting to play the game earlier than what I normally would have, than having to wait a full year to play the full, everything. So I guess I'm not complaining. It's just, I guess I'm just acknowledging it's interesting that they've taken that approach in several different areas recently.
In some ways, it's negative because you don't get everything on card or on disc. And I think that's something that a lot of people, for the past few generations now, don't realize the negativity of it. Come down the road when the servers are offline, if you want to play a game and you have the disc of the game and it's version 1.0, that's all you're playing. You're not going to be able to download those patches. And if you don't have it downloaded on a game, on a system, you're not going to get that version 2.0 or whatever of the game. And the same goes for content. And there are some examples already of 360 games or PS3 games where they released like a gold edition or a Game of the Year edition that had all that built onto the disc, and then they lost the rights. Like Marvel Ultimate Alliance is a big example. They lost the rights to the Marvel characters, and the only way to play some of the DLC characters is if you have that special edition of the disc. Is the only way, period, to play that game. So obviously that raises the value. And it's not like an NES game where you pop it in, you have the whole thing. And the same thing here down the road when Nintendo turns off their online, which we know they'll do because they did it already with the Wii and the DS. So we can assume they would do it. You want to put in ARMS brand new, you're not playing Lollipop. You want to play Splatoon brand new, you're playing the single player, and all those extra weapons, they are not part of it. You want to play Zelda, you are not getting the Kokiri mask, and you are not doing the Trial of the Sword. That's not going to be there, and it sucks. It's kind of the way the industry has gone. So there are pros and cons to it. The only way to rectify that would be to release a Game of the Year edition down the road, which is kind of what Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is, if you think about it. The Wii U version of Mario Kart 8 down the road, you're not going to play those DLC, but at least with Deluxe you can. So yeah, it's a wise strategy. It's also Nintendo. So even if you buy a game early, if you know Nintendo games, you know what you're getting into. They march the beat of their own drums. It's not like a hit or miss company for the most part. They're mostly hits, and you can justify it. At least I feel. If you like Nintendo games, you're gonna like it, even in bare bones. I mean, look at Splatoon 1. That released very bare bones, and people still loved it. And the way the Switch is selling out right now, I think they're doing fine.
Yeah. I mean, I think the alternative is they wait to have more content, and then you have these droughts, and that affects sales and everything. So it's sort of like I feel like it's almost like a win-win in that, like, for the people that want content earlier, well, then you buy the game as is and you get more content as it comes. If you feel like it's not enough, then wait, maybe you'll get it even cheaper later, so it's sort of kind of depends. And I think, different publishers have different ways. There are other publishers out there that release games that are extremely bare bones and then, release updates later on, and that's kind of, not so great. But I think like Splatoon 2, for example, launched with enough content to keep people satisfied for a while, and then they've been releasing, new updates steadily, and the new stages, like even with Salmon Run, the new stage, the Lost Outpost, like I was playing in that, like it's really interesting, and it really changes the strategy a little bit. Like it really kind of, adds some new dimensions to the gameplay a little bit, and ARMS, I think, in my opinion at least, I feel like even though there's so many different modes, I feel like it doesn't have as much. It doesn't feel like it has as much variety, just because there's something different about. Let's say if I'm playing as one character in ARMS versus somebody else, and you play 10 matches, those 10 matches are going to feel overall the same. In Splatoon, it's a team-based game, so no matter who you're playing with, it's going to be different each time, even if it's the same map and so on. So I feel like ARMS is one of those games that I haven't played as much just because it hasn't captured my attention as much. But once there's so many more characters out there, I think that will really make it more interesting and fun to play.
Yeah, I think it's just the natural difference between a fighting game and a shooter, especially a team-based shooter. Because I love like Street Fighter and games like that, Tekken. But there are also games that I personally don't go back to over and over and over and over again, even if they release new characters, even if that sort of thing, because that's that same repetitiveness. And there are obviously people that are clearly like play this game all the time, and they compete in it, and that's like their life. But for me, like fighters have never been the type of game that I can really spend a long time with, because it really kind of is the same game where Splatoon, because of the nature of the game, like you were saying, Hassan, it will change over time depending on who are there, and and stuff like that, because it is team based. It's not just one-on-one the whole time.
See, one thing that's weird to me about Splatoon, and I did like the first one, is that Nintendo has really been king of local multiplayer. Like the N64, that was the bread and butter of that system. And it surprises me that Splatoon 2, especially, with the way it is, doesn't offer more local modes.
Mm-hmm.
And also, here's something that we haven't seen in a while: bots. Like, I remember back in the day playing like Perfect Dark, and like my friends weren't around. It was after school. They were all doing homework. I was doing homework. I finished. So I was like, oh, I can't go over to my friend's house. I'm a kid. I have responsibilities, in terms of, I don't have a car. So I'm like, well, let me play multiplayer. And I loved multiplayer, but there was no online back then. So you were able to do bots. And I was able to run through multiplayer matches as bots at different difficulties. And I made my own little league, with the different bots, and saw how it did and traded and all that. It was just fun. Like, why can't you play Splatoon 2 by yourself with 3 other computer bots on your team and against 4 other bots, and at least just practice and have fun and play and ramp up the difficulty? I mean, you could do Smash Brothers with 8 computers versus each other. Why can't you do Splatoon 2 that way and at least just have fun? Like, as another mode, because when the online goes down, you're stuck with single player and that's it. But there's a whole mode that you should be able to just enjoy.
Yeah. Even my wife was talking the other day. Like, I think it was the day that Hassan and Mike and Blake and I were playing, and she wanted to play along with us. And I was like, I don't think you can. And as I researched it more and everything, you can't. And like, that would have been awesome, because like that's something we really enjoy doing is going online with like Mario Kart and being able to play, people on the same system, and it's fun. But
you can do that with ARMS,
like, in order for my wife and I to be able to play, like, she has to have a Switch and another copy of the game, in order for us to both play online at the same time. And that's unfortunate, because not only can we not play local like multiplayer with just one cartridge and one system, but now like it'd been really awesome if we were able to do some sort of split screen. And I know it's obviously capable, but I don't know why they would leave out something like that, especially like you're saying, just because Nintendo has been overall like throughout their history, so like they put a lot of importance on couch multiplayer, and to be able to leave this completely out, and it is odd.
Yeah, it seems like they don't merge the two. Like ARMS allows you to do it too. ARMS, like Mario Kart, you could have two people go into like the party mode in ARMS, and each person, and you can't each fight separate battles, but sometimes one player, player one will be fighting in a battle, then player two will be fighting, and if it's a team battle, player 1 and 2 will be on the same team versus 2 other people who are separate. But still allows you to do that. It allows you to merge that couch co-op with online. And it sucks, I'm in the same boat, if my wife wanted to play and I was online, I'd be like, I would love for you to sit down and play. We've got the TV, or one person on the TV, one, gamepad kind of, whatever you want to do, however you want to set it up. I mean, the Switch is made for that local. It's got the Joy-Cons. That's its selling point. 2 people play right away. You should be able to do that online as well.
Right. Yeah, well, maybe Splatoon 3.
I think it kind of, because it adds like a disadvantage. So obviously, if you have 2 people on the same team, then like they can communicate and kind of work together, and then that can form a different advantage. I guess they would have to have an entirely different lounge to match up with like another console. And I don't know if they've done like surveys, studies to see if like that'd be something of interest, but.
Hey, now let's be honest here. Nintendo just introduced the ability to use a satellite dish, a microwave, and a toothpick to allow you to do voice chat. So that whole communication thing is a non-issue, because now you can talk to your teammates.
Well,
that's true.
Their very limited edition of voice chat is just if like the 4 of us set up a room to play a match. So obviously they don't allow it. If I just log on with 3 random people, I can't talk or do anything with them. So
right. Yeah, I think I get what you're saying, Greg, but at the same time, I feel like that is an argument that they could have like 10, 15 years ago. But like now, like there's so many ways, like if me and you were playing, and we could just get on Skype and have that conversation just like we were sitting in the same room, and totally have that same experience. And so like I don't know, like I don't buy it, I guess, anymore.
I agree.
Like 10 years ago I'd buy it, but nowadays I'm like, I can have that same experience like sitting on the couch with someone, like just by calling them up with the phone, or on Skype or Discord or whatever nowadays. And so I just think it's something that they like. I can't think of any reason why they wouldn't have. And yeah, I mean, you have other games have experienced this as well. I mean, like I know, different Call of Duties allow you to do that, and Halo and different stuff like that, other shooters. And sometimes you have a little disadvantage because you're on a split screen compared to a full screen, but you just know that going into it. You're like, hey, I'm playing split screen this time. I might have a slight disadvantage because I don't have the full range of my screen this time, but the price I'm willing to pay to allow this person right beside me to play with me online right now.
I think you'd find a reason right there why they don't have it is because they don't want that Call of Duty lobby where people are just cursing everyone's mother and everything like that. So
yeah, and I'm okay if they don't like. Okay, like that's the reason Nintendo, doesn't fully roll out voice chat. Okay, but why not split screen multiplayer online?
If a company could demand that you get 4 Game Boy Advances, 4 link cables, and a game for the GameCube just to play multiplayer, they should allow you to just play with your spouse or your friend local co-op. There's no excuses at this point. They got away with that stuff in the early 2000s. You can't just keep holding them to that same Like they can't be immune from criticism. I love Nintendo as much as the next guy, but they can't be immune to this. This is an oversight. You know, I probably would have opened up Splatoon 2 earlier if I could just play by, you know, with some bots and just get used to it and not have to deal with that 8-year-old from Call of Duty telling me to go eat a booger sandwich or something. You know, like I just want to play and enjoy and understand and learn, because we're coming so late into the game that, you know, people who are level 40 will obviously just look at us and go, ha ha, boom, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think Nintendo, there's a lot of inconsistencies they have with it. With local split screen, I think I can maybe see a case where technically it's the way they want to achieve with 60 frames per second, that sort of thing. And, you know, let's say with 2 players, they had to come down to 30 frames per second, and they might put you at a slight disadvantage or not. I mean, maybe, but regardless of that, I think Splatoon 2 also has like 10, you know, like there's so many different just inconsistent design choices just in general with that game. So I'm not really buying any excuses they have at this moment, because I just think there's so many different things that they could do to completely reorganize it, because every mode has a different possibilities. Like whether you use the app to play online or local multiplayer or online play or Splatfest or Salmon Run, like they all have different options for you to play, and it's completely inconsistent. So that's where I'm kind of like, Nintendo, if there's some stance that you want to take it, but be consistent, so I can consistently be upset rather than just be frustrated at just
right.
But it's possible here, but not here, and then that boggles my mind. But it's just
yeah. Why not just stick another mode on there, like for only people that are doing couch local online, like a bunch of people doing split screen together. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. Or like, okay, you can only play split screen online with other people that are playing split screen online. There's another mode on the whole list over there. Not that I was
so many already. Why not? You know, why not?
Right. That's exactly what I was saying. What they should have done for that.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. You know what comes with it, but
I'm
lots of different things that we can see.
After all this, they're going to release Smash Brothers, but only allow you to play it with an NES Classic. Like, that's the only way to control Smash Brothers. Like, yep, there it is. If you don't have one, go pay the scalpers. You know, like that's the asinine things they're doing right now with some of this.
And it only works docked, but if you want it portably, you have to connect the Wii U gamepad and play an off-TV play with that or something.
But you have to look through a Virtual Boy as well.
Nintendo, don't listen. They always listen to this podcast and announce directs and stuff, so let's not give them ideas. But actually, this time around, we kind of had a pseudo Nintendo Direct of sorts that, you know, instead of coming after the podcast, happened beforehand. So recently, they had their Nindies Showcase. So all these indie titles that, for one way or another, they're either exclusive to Nintendo, they're coming first to Nintendo, or console exclusive, or first to consoles, just some sort of, maybe some Nintendo special features, some sort of special thing related to Nintendo that they have, and that is why they are called Nindies. So I'm going to run through the entire list, and then we can just kind of each talk about any that sort of stood out to us. So Super Meat Boy Forever is coming in 2018. Shovel Knight King of Cards coming in early 2018, also to 3DS. So all of these are coming to Switch unless I specify otherwise. Mom Hid My Game coming late 2017, also coming to 3DS. Golf Story coming in September. Floor Kids Holiday. Wolver Blade September. Poly Bridge Holiday. Kentucky Route Zero TV Edition early 2018. Earth Atlantis coming in the fall. Next Up Hero coming early 2018. Steam World Dig 2 coming September 21st. Mulaka early 2018. YOLO and the Celestial Elephants October 12th. Dragon Marked for Death Winter 2017 to 2018. Battle Chef Brigade Holiday. Morphe's Law Winter 2017 to 2018. Sausage Sports Club Fall. Light Fingers early 2018. Nine Parchments Holiday 2017. And No More Heroes Travis Strikes Again in 2018. So that is a decent amount of titles. What are you guys looking forward to out of that list?
To be honest, like I need to spend more time. Like I probably need to go back and watch that again, because I think the biggest thing with those Nindie directs or whatever you want to call them is they fly through them, and it's just like bam, 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 game, game, game. And I was like making this list and trying to even like keep up with that was like, so like, okay, when did they say that game was coming out? And so like I actually need to go back through and like really try to see like spend some time with it and figure out maybe there is a hidden gem in there that I wasn't expecting and didn't really even know existed, because that's the big thing with these indie games is like I'm always finding things that maybe I didn't even give a second thought in the beginning, and then all of a sudden I try it and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I'm so glad that I eventually this. But just off the top of my head, I mean, SteamWorld Dig 2 is going to be great. I spent some time with it at PAX East earlier this year, and it was great. And so I'm definitely looking forward to that. And I think it is Morphe's Law looked really interesting as well. A kind of interesting mechanic there that I'm interested in looking into a little more. I didn't play the first No More Heroes. But I was intrigued by it, and so I'm equally intrigued by the sequel as well. I'm really interested to see, where it goes long term, because they've said that it may stay with just Nintendo or it might go around, so I'm not really sure. But it's interesting that they did come back to Nintendo for the sequel. But yeah, the big thing that jumps out to me so much is SteamWorld Dig 2. It's the first game was fantastic. The second one looked a lot, and but yeah, I know that there's more on that list that I just need to go back and spend some more time with it and really see, give them some more time, look at the trailers a little more, read a little more about them, because I'm sure that there are some hidden gems in there that right now I'm just like rushing right over. But then if I give it more time and they're going to be surprising me. I did mention Shovel Knight. I think we talked about this in our game chat. Like, I'm not enjoying the sequel, or the other packs or whatever, as much as I did the original Shovel Knight. So I'm not looking forward to King of Cards as much. I mean, I'll try it because I have the whole pack, but I enjoy the original Shovel Knight so much more than I have the expansions. So.
Gotcha. What about you, Greg?
I share some similar thoughts to Steve. I really enjoyed SteamWorld Dig on 3DS. That was a great game. I'm definitely looking forward to see how they expand on that in the sequel. I haven't got a chance to play any demos for that, so unfortunately I don't have too much to go on besides just their initial trailers that I've seen and just the knowledge of the previous game that makes me real excited for it. Yeah, I do agree with Steve on the Shovel Knight stuff. I didn't really spend a lot of time on the previous two packs. It was mostly just to cover it for review. I would like to try and beat both of those packs, but I don't know if I'll have the time to do that before the last part of it comes out. I do want to say those amiibo they did announce for do look really, really cool, so might end up getting those. Aside from that, nothing else had really stuck out a whole lot. There's other ones that I just want to rewatch some of the trailers just to see if there's other things that I might want to be checking out. But yeah, everything looks very good so far, and from what I can recall, but I need more details to figure out which ones I'll be requesting to review and or purchasing.
Gotcha. Cool. What about you, Barry?
Actually, there was quite a bit that I saw that I enjoyed. Whether I get them or not all depends on either review copy or physical release. But just a quick correction, Steve. This is actually No More Heroes 3. There was a sequel already on the Wii.
That's true. I forgot about that.
And the first game did get ported to the PlayStation 3. So it hasn't. it's not exactly Nintendo exclusive, but I do kind of hope it stays Nintendo exclusive from here on out. But yeah, No More Heroes 3 looks great. I love the idea of going to 6 different video games. And that just, it sounds like that premise alone with the craziness of Suda 51. I just want to see how they work it. Morphe's, to me, looks like if Nintendo did a second shooter to go along with Splatoon, Morphe's is the kind of idea that I would see Nintendo doing. And I'm really surprised Nintendo just didn't be like, you know what, we're buying you and we're making this a new IP. Because it just looks crazy. Like, I love the idea that, you know, if you're doing really well, you're suddenly a giant, so you're a big target. And if you suck, now you're this little tiny thing, so it's hard to hit. And just memories of Odd Job and GoldenEye just come rushing back. Like, no! You know, so I like Morphe's. I'm not a big shooter fan, but I like the idea, the premise. It's really cool. Next up, Hero, I actually got to play at Play NYC and talked with the developer of the game. And I'm excited for it. It definitely has a lot going for it. He also said that it was going to be a physical copy. So knowing that, it's a plus for me. However, he did say one negative, which is kind of what we were talking about before. It is always online because it connects to servers so that if you could find other people who have played in that session and raise them up to help you. So pretty much when the servers go down on that game, physical or not, there is nothing. And I yelled at him. I'm like, come on, at least make an offline mode so your game doesn't become a coaster. Or I guess a little doorstop or wedge or something for the Switch version. I liked Super Meat Boy, so seeing another Super Meat Boy is cool. I hope America gets a physical copy this time, so I don't have to grab one from Europe, because that's a really good game, and I'm surprised Nintendo didn't like do more with that or try to get that. I'm trying to think what else was really. There were a couple little cute ones, interesting ideas. Just see where they pan out. You know, it goes by quickly. It's just nice to see like that Nintendo's like, hey, not only do we have this, you know, all these AAA releases, but we also have these indies. I just wish they had more AAA developers. Nothing against the indies at all, but just to get those bigger names, because indies don't sell systems. They're supplemental games. They are, oh, this is an in-between game or this is an extra bonus. But when we need more of the AAA, and it feels like the Wii U had a great Nindies lineup, but it didn't carry the system, and that's proof. This is just supplementary. It's great to see. It's going to help its launch, of course, but that's all it is. It's more meat to the bone.
Right. Yeah, I mean it's definitely interesting. I think it's interesting seeing the variety of titles that they have too, which really do kind of pad out. Maybe there's certain genres that they don't really have on the Switch, so these are sort of filling some of those voids, like Morphe's Law, kind of filling that shooter void. Granted, it's not your traditional shooter, but it's, you know, kind of filling in some of these other little gaps that maybe be out there. So like that game kind of stood out a little bit for me, so kind of curious, so might look into it a bit more. No More Heroes as well kind of stood out a little. I think I tried the first game a little bit, and it was interesting, so I'd like to learn more about this one and see. But, you know, kind of like what was said earlier, there's so many games, and it was so quick that I really just didn't get a feel for much of it, so I think I'll need to sort of wait and see as the games release, get more information, more details on them. The main indie titles right now that I'm just super excited about weren't covered in this Nindies Showcase, and that's Runner 3 and Rocket League. And so I'm ready for those games. Those day one, absolutely, I'm ready. But yeah, there's a bunch of other games that are here as well that are exciting. So lots of interesting titles on the horizon for Switch for sure. Definitely.
Yeah. I was actually, I mean, I guess it makes sense because a lot of these games were, you know, new information, so they didn't want to, you know, share, you know, old information. You know, we already know that Runner 3 is coming. We already know that, you know, Rocket League's coming, but each of those games do have some new aspects and everything that we're still learning about, like the you know, special cars for Rocket League and stuff like that, which are really cool.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot more about Runner 3 just from demos and stuff that other people have been playing, and it's really interesting how they're branching off from just the traditional traditional runner game. Now that they have some levels that you actually can totally control him, that you don't have to, stuck in this constant run anymore. They have some levels where you move into like the 3D and you're going, more, forward instead of just right or left. And then you have like some driving levels and some some different stuff. So I hope that they still that the game is still strong, even though they've been kind of venturing out and taking this traditional runner in a different direction. At least, I think the main game is still going to be very, very similar, but I hope that these extra things that they're adding in is not going to mess up the game, I guess. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Very interesting to see what they do with it. So kind of curious. And yeah, these are just all the indie titles, and then of course we have your traditional, like your Mario Odyssey, which is of course going to be big. We have Fire Emblem Warrior, Xenoblade. Yeah, like there's so many.
Pokken tournament.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. Oh man, there's a bunch. That's just this year. And granted, a bunch of these Nindy titles that we mentioned are coming next year as well. But there's so much on the horizon, and so it's really interesting to see the Switch develop with its software library for sure.
I do think this is going to be our most, especially in comparison to last year's lackluster episode. I think this year's Game of the Year awards are going to be the most heated discussions we're going to have. Like last year's was just terrible because we had nothing to discuss, but this year, I just see it already. Everyone's going to be something different. It's going to be an actual, no runaway. Even with Zelda, which should be a runaway. You have Mario.
But there's Mario Odyssey. A late comer to the year, so that could dethrone it. it's tough. Right now, it's like Zelda's big, but you never know.
Splatoon 2 as well, and then Mario and Rabbids, which has been a real surprise hit. I wasn't even going to be on my radar. Metroid as well, coming out. Monster Hunter Stories is coming out. Pokemon. Don't forget Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon.
Seems
I'm
like
trying
the
to figure
3DS
out
side
those,
will be
no, I'm just kidding.
pretty straightforward. I think it's going to be the Switch side where it's going to be where does it go?
I don't know if it's going to be so straightforward. I could see you putting Fire Emblem Echoes up there, and then there was Pikmin and Miitomo. So there were other Mario sports.
Yeah, I think the 3DS. I think that's one of the big things that I'm forgetting is that the 3DS lineup this year has been really strong. Even though we feel like it's kind of on its way out, it's still got a really strong lineup this year, and they're putting out some really quality games. And I think the biggest thing is, we talked about many times already, is that I'm running out of time. Not only am I getting older and I have more responsibility and I just moved all the way across the country, but just in general, I find myself kind of torn because I want to play more Switch and everything, but there really are some quality games for 3DS that I haven't even touched yet, that are sitting there, and I know they're going to be good. I know that I'm going to enjoy it, but I'm enjoying my Switch so much that I haven't even turned on my 3DS in a long time. But I know when I do that I'm going to have a choice of wow, which of these 5 quality games that are released this year do I want to play first?
Which sometimes leads to you doing nothing at all.
Games. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly my point. I think this year is going to be probably the most heated and diverse list of candidates we've had, as opposed to last year, where I think we were scraping the bottom of the barrel. We really were.
I haven't picked a game from 3 years ago.
I don't think there was even a barrel for me.
Yeah. Mario and Friends, Amiibo challenge from 3 years ago is on Steve's list.
That's quality. That's quality stuff.
We're going with the DLC for the Street Pass Me Plaza or something.
Yes.
There's nothing else. That was our game of the year for 3D. I don't even know. That was what else is there?
And Steve also had whatever Bayonetta 2 and it was already out for a couple years.
Yeah, I picked the re-release of it as the as the winner.
If you want a good laugh, we'll listen to our Game of the Year last year. It was bad.
Yeah, so it'll be very interesting. It's fast approaching, and very, very interesting to see how it all plays out for sure. So definitely curious. But yeah, so that I think is gonna wrap it up for this episode. The next episode, as it comes along, will be a little bit before the Nintendo World Championship. So who knows if they'll do any sort of other direct or something, that time frame, since they just did the Nindies Showcase and everything. But yeah, October we'll have the World Championships as well as Mario Odyssey, and then there's a bunch of other games in between. So
Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem's cannibalized by going right before Odyssey, and Sonic Forces comes out right after Odyssey.
Yeah, Odyssey's a tough one to go up against. But then again, I feel like, each of these games is so diverse in that people are buying them, and people are buying these games are selling well right now. So I think it'll be interesting to see the software sales for each of these games, the attach ratio. It'll be very, very interesting for sure.
Yeah. And it looks like the hardware what do you call it? They're in stock. The hardware stock is actually picking up now. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I've actually started seeing Switches in stores again now, which is great. I walked in Walmart a couple times this week and saw like one or two. A couple times that I've been into Target, I've seen a couple on the shelves, and so hopefully that means they're just picking up production, and they're not just like sales have dropped off. I think the production has finally just picked up, is my guess, because there are still people that I know that really want one, and it's not like everybody's like changed their opinion of the Switch and they've stopped buying them. So my guess is that people just don't know that they're actually available and they can go in the store and pick up one. Available, but they are there. I've seen them, which is crazy. Like, and it almost makes me think like maybe I should pick up another one. Like, I don't need another one, but I'm like, they're rare, I should get one.
They're Pokemon, Steve. You got to catch them all 5 million sold ones.
That's what Hassan's doing with the Joy-Cons. He's got to catch them all.
See, luckily I don't have to buy a whole other Switch for those Joy-Cons, the green and pink ones, because I got them from Japan. So
I think it also could be your area, but I do think a lot of people aren't looking because they expect, why should I go? It probably won't be there. But I think it also depends on your area in general. Like a heavily populated area, the odds of seeing them will be less likely than a less populated area, just because the traffic in the store. If you see them and go, oh cool, that's they're there, they could be sold by the end of the day. They could be sold by the end of the hour for all you know.
Well, for the Nintendo World Championships, I did see like a pallet of Switches. There was at least 30-some consoles on like a thing. So they did have a really good supply that day. I don't know how long they've lasted. It's not my normal Best Buy store, but I get it might have been a restock day. I don't know, or maybe they figured a lot of people are coming and have them out. So
I was going to say, I imagine it's probably a tie-in to the championships. Like they probably did that on purpose, I would imagine.
It's like, oh, you like to play Mario Odyssey? Well, here, you can buy the system right here today, and then pre-order the system, or pre-order the game.
Yeah.
Totally done.
I mean, they have been showing up more on like even on Amazon and stuff too. So like, yeah, they're selling out, but they're at least showing up again, which is nice, because I think they've got, I mean, we've said on this before, but they've got to pick up the production and everything if they're really going to meet a lot of these demands that are going to happen clearly when they start really. I mean, they've got some quality games out now, but they're going to keep even popping them out the rest of this year, and people are going to want the systems. And like, it's going to be awful if they have to just go to scalpers and buying from like $500, because that's unfortunate. But continue to ramp up production, because I think, as we said, the demand is going to continue to be high, especially because they keep putting out these quality games.
I just want to see them bring up production, because I want to see the Switch outsell the Wii U's entire life in the first year, and it very well could. Like, that to me would be a huge boon. Like, look, we failed. we're succeeding now. We're succeeding so well that in 1 year we trumped what we did in 5.
Yeah, absolutely. I could see it happen. I could see it happen. It's all down to, they can get their production stuff going and, but we'll see. I mean, speaking of production stuff and demand and all that, I don't want to talk about it tonight because it could be a whole big topic, but we'll save it for next time. The SNES Classic. So by the time the next podcast happens, that will be out. So we'll share our stories of either successes or failures. We'll find out. You'll have to stay tuned and see what happens. But that's a hot topic right there. So definitely will be very interesting to see how that all plays out. So best of luck to anybody that is trying to get one.
It will have came out like right before the next podcast, right? So.
Yeah, I think it's the Friday before. Yeah, because it comes out the 29th, and I think I was looking at my calendar. October 2nd is the first Monday. So.
Yep. So we'll see. We'll see. Best of luck to anybody trying to get the SNES Classic for sure. So again, shout out to Mike in the chat. We had Roth stop by in the chat as well. Jakester, shout out to you guys. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be back on October 2nd for the next episode of the podcast. So thank you guys for listening, and see you later.
See ya.
Good night.
Yeah.